Good morning, everybody. Thank you for coming to today's May 5th Shotsuki Hoyo service. Last night over in Chula Vista, it rained a little bit. I don't know if it rained in the rest of San Diego, but it's good to see. If you just look out to the west here, you can see some blue skies coming in. So it looks like we're hopefully through with the rain today, and we'll have a pretty nice day the rest of the afternoon. So thank you for coming to today's service. We'd like to start this service with the fruit and floral offerings by the Dharma School Pre-K to 3rd grade. Thank you, Pre-K and 3rd grade and the Dharma School teachers for setting all that up. We'll start today's service with silent meditation.
Gasho, when Amida's Pure Land is reached, one immediately becomes a Buddha. They then return to this world of illusion and defilement as a bodhisattva, and with great wisdom and compassion, guide others. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namanda, 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 Namanda.
We will now have the reading of the Shotsuki Hoyo names by Reverend Hokai Smitty Smith. Please, please come up and do gasho for your loved ones as they're announced.
Yes, you're welcome to come up throughout the reading of the names to offer incense. Fumi Ohara, Jeanette Dutton, Moto Tsuinoshi, Steve Tomiyama, Frederick Ichiro Tsuji, Leora Chieko Hamada, Toshiko Takagi, Kuniko Denton, Peggy Humiko Tsurudome, Jane Kozuye Yagare. Setsuko Yara. George Yara. William Perkinson, Jr. Toshiko Takagi. Arlene Shizue Hirata. George Masato Uda. Chonja Lee Haruko Bullock. John Ernest Benson. Phoebe Wadzinski. Tiffany Wadzinski. Horace Shigeto Koga. Masako Falk. Misao Nakagawa Moriyama. Donald Hamilton Estes. Katsumi Takashima. Jane Akemi Obayashi. Matsuye Ishino. Sane Gutzman. Noboru Yamamoto. George Higuchi. Tamiko Iwashita. Roy Morinaka. Yukie Yagade. Paul Yoshimasa Naito. Mikazu Kaminaka. Harumi Hokansan. Agnes Masai Kishi. Ichie Ochi. James Yamaguchi. Yoshio Koike. Mary Beth Ewent. Momoyo Amano. Kazu L. Scott. Morizo Fujimoto. Shizue Koba. Hisashi Ozaki. Hiroko Kitada. Carol James. Carl M. Oka. Kuni Higuchi, Hiseo Fujimoto, Kakuye Yamada, Shizuye Saito, Atsuko Miyamoto, Mitsuko Iguchi, Reverend Gikan Nishinaga, Tsume Takashima, Magataro Adichie, Shoichi Hamatake, Seko Fujimoto, Tomiko Mamiya, Hiroshi Mayumi, Asao Tanaka, Yoshi Morimoto, Moritaka Tsuneyoshi, Osamu Amano, Richard Ejima Jr., Yoshimatsu Yagura, Kisemon Kato, Fujie Oya, Gohei Tomiyama, Yasukichi Fujimoto, Jirosuke Nishiue, Kumataro Kimura, Tsuneko Matsumoto, Nasuemon Ishizuka, Mary Koba. Again, you're welcome to come forward and offer incense for your departed loved one, whether I read their name or not today.
We will now have the sutra chanting Jusei Ge on page 35 in the blue service book.
調整願意志無浄土志願不満足政府上昇学がお無量公不意大摂取不採小便具政府上昇学が市場分道妙所長寺法空教未所門政府上昇学利欲人少年上映主本業しぐ無浄土一生天人知人力現代公不所無才道少女三苦名交際主役難回避知恵言滅死根毛案閉塞小悪道自断然主門高層上満足意おろじぽ日願中重期天候音符言一種解放像公正苦読法上欧大集中説法ししく供養一切仏具足習徳本金心上満徳意三害を女仏無下知津断未不詳願学エリック投資最小尊志願や国家大戦王感動国書天人東鎮妙慶ナマンダブナマンダブナマンダブナマ sei sai dohon bodai shin ojo an rako. Gasho namandab 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 namandab.
Please rise for the recitation of our pledge. It's in the blue service book. It's on a insert, so you might have to dig around a little bit in there. I know if it's not in one of the blue books, it will probably be in the other one, so kind of look carefully. Okay, our pledge is written by the Gomonshu Otani Kojun. Breaking out of my shell, I will share a warm smile and speak gentle words, just like the kind Buddha. Not becoming lost in my greed, anger, and ignorance, I shall think and act with an open mind, just like the calm and peaceful Buddha. Not putting myself first, I will share in the joy and sadness of others, just like the compassionate Buddha. Realizing the gift of life I have received, I shall strive to live each day to its fullest, like the Buddha who tirelessly works to liberate all. Gasho, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu. Please remain standing for the recitation of the golden chain, and that you could find in print in the book on page 9D. This is one of my favorites. That's why I added it into the service today. All right. I'm a link in Amida's golden chain of love that stretches around the world. I will keep my link bright and strong. I will be kind and gentle to every living thing and protect all who are weaker than myself. I will think pure and beautiful thoughts, say pure and beautiful words, and do pure and beautiful deeds. May every link in Amida's golden chain of love be bright and strong, and may we all attain perfect peace. Gasho, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu. Thank you. You may be seated. We will now have a Dharma School message by Reverend Hokai Smitty Smith.
Can you make that sound so formal? So please join me in Gasho. Once, Ananda, the Buddha's disciple and personal attendant, asked the Buddha whether having and associating with good friends was of any value in pursuing the path of awakening. Shakyamuni replied, Ananda, having and associating with good friends is the whole path of awakening. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namandab, Namandab, Namandab. Well, good morning. It's nice to see so many Dharma friends here today. We have a couple of good Dharma friends visiting this weekend who many of us haven't seen lately. I'm going to embarrass you, Sensei. It's Kenji Sensei and Karen Nakahoshi. It's good to see our Dharma friends back here with us for this special weekend. And it makes me happy to see friends who I haven't seen for a while. How about you guys? How do you feel about that? You know, how does it feel when you haven't even seen your friend for a few days? Do you get sad and you wanna see them again soon? How about if you haven't seen them for many months, like it was during the pandemic for some of us? Yeah, it's hard not to see our friends. You know, 2 years ago, we were just starting to get together in person here at the temple. We had a long time spent in social distancing and quarantining, and often without a chance to see our friends, at least in person. And time apart from friends also makes us not only miss them, but it can make us appreciate what it means to have good friends. And with that thought in mind, I thought I'd share a story with everybody today. This is a story about best friends and the true power of friendship. So before the time of this story, long, long ago, people in Asia used to say that there would never be a time when an elephant and a dog would be friends. Elephants simply did not like dogs, and dogs were kind of afraid of elephants. They're a little on the big side, aren't they? So when dogs are frightened by those who are that much bigger than they are, they often bark loudly, usually to kind of cover up that fear. And dogs used to do this when they saw elephants, and elephants would kind of get annoyed by the barking, and they would chase the dogs. And elephants had no patience when it came to all that yipping, yapping, and barking that the dogs would do. But even if a dog were quiet and still, any nearby elephant, once they noticed the dog, they would sometimes automatically chase after them. And this is why everybody agreed that elephants and dogs were natural enemies, just like lions and tigers, Wile E. Coyote and the Roadrunner, Tweety Bird and Sylvester, or cats and mice. So once upon a time, there was this royal bull elephant who was very well fed and cared for. And in the neighborhood of the royal elephant shelter, there was this scrawny, poorly fed little stray dog. And the stray dog was attracted by the smell of the rich, sweet rice that was being fed to the royal elephant. So the dog began sneaking into the shelter and eating the wonderful rice that fell from the elephant's mouth, since the elephant was a bit of a messy eater. And the dog liked the rice so much that soon he would eat nowhere else, and he no longer begged for food in the streets. And while enjoying his food, the big mighty elephant didn't even notice the tiny, shy, stray dog, because he kind of kept quiet when he was doing this. So by eating such rich food, the once underfed and scrawny dog gradually got bigger and stronger and became a very handsome-looking dog. His coat became shiny and smooth, and he nearly doubled in size. And because of this, the good-natured elephant began to notice the dog. And since the dog had gotten used to being around the elephant, he lost all his fear. So the dog no longer felt the need to bark at this elephant. And because he was not annoyed by the friendly dog, the elephant gradually got used to the pupper hanging around and eating those scraps of sweet rice. And slowly the two became friendlier and friendlier, and before long, neither would eat without the other, and they enjoyed spending their time together. Have you ever had lunch or snacks with a friend? It's kind of fun, huh? That's what the elephant and the dog were starting to do. And when they played, the dog would grab the elephant's heavy trunk, and the elephant would swing him forward and backwards and side to side and up and down and even around in circles. And the elephant and the dog became best friends, and they never wanted to be separated. Then one day, a man from a distant village who was visiting the big city passed by the elephant shelter, and he saw the handsome, frisky dog who had become strong and had this very shiny coat. So the villager asked the elephant keeper if he could purchase the dog. And even though the elephant keeper didn't own the dog, he sold the dog to the villager, and he pocketed the money. So the visitor took the dog back to his home in the village, and because nobody knew the stranger, none of the city dwellers, none of the royal elephant keepers, other than the one who took the money, knew where the dog had gone. Of course, the royal bull elephant became very sad since he missed his best friend, the dog. The elephant became so sad that he didn't want to do anything, not even eat or drink or bathe. I guess bathing is fun for elephants. Is it fun for you guys? Okay. Anyways, the elephant keeper had to report this behavior to the king, although the keeper never mentioned anything about having sold the friendly dog, who was the elephant's friend. And it just so happened that the king had a very intelligent minister who was known for his understanding of animals. And the advisor was sort of an elephant whisperer. The king told his advisor to go and find out the reason for the elephant's deteriorating condition. And the wise minister went to the elephant shelter, and he saw at once that the royal bull elephant was very sad. And he thought, this once happy elephant doesn't appear to be sick in any way. But I've seen this condition before, in humans and in animals alike. And the minister realized that this elephant is grief-stricken, probably due to the loss of a very dear friend. Then the king's wise minister said to the guards and the elephant attendants, I find no sickness or illness in the elephant. He seems to be very sad due to the loss of a friend. Do you know if this elephant had a close friendship with anyone? And the guards and attendants told the king's advisor how the royal elephant and the stray dog were best friends. What happened to this stray dog? Asked the minister. The dog was taken by an unknown man, a stranger who isn't from this city, they replied. They don't know where the man is right now. So the wise minister returned to the king and said, Your Majesty, I'm happy to say your elephant is not suffering from any illness. As strange as it may sound, the elephant became friends with a stray dog. And since the dog has been taken away, the elephant is very sad and mopey. He doesn't feel like eating or drinking or bathing or playing. This is my opinion of the situation. And the king said to the advisor, Friendship is one of life's most wonderful things. My minister, how can we bring back my elephant's friend and make him happy again? My lord, replied the minister, I suggest you make an official announcement that whoever took the dog who used to live at the Royal Elephant Shelter will be fined and imprisoned. This was done, probably by tweet or Instagram or Facebook posts. And when the villager heard of this official announcement, he released the dog from his house. And the dog was filled with such great happiness, he ran as fast as he could, straight back to his best friend, the royal elephant. And the elephant was so overjoyed that he picked up his pupper friend and with his trunk and sat the dog on top of his head. And the happy dog wagged his tail while the elephant's eyes sparkled with delight, and they both danced together with joy. And the two best friends spent the rest of their lives together, happily eating, playing, and just living. Meanwhile, the king was very pleased by his elephant's full recovery, and he was amazed that his minister seemed able to read the mind of an elephant. So the king rewarded his wise advisor for helping make the elephant happy again by finding his friend the dog. And the king declared that even natural enemies can become friends. So this story reminds us that each of our lives is richer and happier because of friendship. And our friends stick with us, helping us get through both the good times and the tough times. Here at Temple, we have an opportunity to make friends, perhaps in Dharma school, or Sangha teens, or the junior YBA. And a lot of times a friend can make coming to Temple seem more fun and interesting. And listening to the Dharma together can be more meaningful than just listening all alone. I know some of our slightly older Temple members have friends that they made way back in their junior YBA days who are still their good Dharma friends today. And I hope each of you has a good friend like the elephant had and the dog had in each other. Someone you can learn with and laugh with, share some food with, and be good Dharma buds with. So if you please join me in Gasho. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namandab, 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 Namandab.
Thank you, Reverend Smitty, for that wonderful talk on friends. Coming here to the temple, I've come here my whole life and have had friends, just like Reverend Smith had said about having friends from Junior YBA. So it's always nice to come back here to the temple and always be around the temple to always catch up with old friends. So, especially ones from San Jose. All right, so we will continue our service, and we will please rise for the Gatha Namo Amida Butsu. It's on page 122 in the blue service book.
Trustingly we cry, Namo Amida Butsu. When our life leads us to the other shore, and Buddha's light we'll see forevermore. In Nembutsu, our grateful heart shall soar. Namo Amida Butsu.
Okay, Gasho. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Thank you. Please be seated. Do we have any announcements? While we're having people come up to make their announcements, or do we have anybody visiting the temple that are just visiting or new to the temple or revisiting the temple? Please stand and introduce yourself. No? Oh, we have one in the back. What is your name? Or what are your names? Welcome. Thank you for coming today. Oh, well, we have a couple more. Sorry. Oh, welcome. Thank you.
The Junior YBA is having their annual Mother's Day breakfast on May 12th, next Sunday, from 8:30 to 9:45 a.m. Mothers are free. Children under 8 are $5, and everybody else is $10. Get your delicious Mother's Day breakfast. No cooking for mothers that morning. Just come on down and get your delicious eggs and sausage and strawberries. Thank you.
Good morning. On behalf of the Kiku Gardens organization, they are sponsoring what they call Club Kiku, and this is held, I think, every other Wednesday at Pioneer Ocean View United Church of Christ. It's open to anyone, all seniors, and they have senior activities. They do a little bit light exercise. They have some singing. They have sometimes some activities. So I was negligent in posting a flyer, but I'm going to go do that now. And I'll post it downstairs, and if anyone's interested, you're welcome to join that group. Thank you.
Good morning. I just wanted to thank all of our wonderful volunteers and all the attendees of yesterday's English tea put on by the BWA. That was a fundraiser for the Lahaina Mission Honganji and also their BWA. I think everyone had a wonderful time, and it was a lot of work, but a lot of fun too. So I just wanted to thank everyone who really helped out. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I'd just like to make an announcement again about our visit to the Imperial Valley at the end of the month on the 25th of May. So if you're interested in attending that trip, there's a sign-up sheet downstairs in the office, so please sign up. We hope to charter a bus to make the visit out there for the cemetery services and Calexico, El Centro, and Brawley, and then possible visit to the Sikh temple, which is the former home of the El Centro Buddhist Church, and then a visit to the Pioneers Museum, the Japanese gallery there. So it's a very educational trip and if you haven't been there, Temple has been doing many cemetery services down in the valley for many years. So if you're interested, please sign up for that activity. Also, we have the bazaar coming up, and if you're a booth chair, please turn in your orders, your supply orders. I believe next week is the deadline for that. And then lastly, on behalf of the Keochi and the Historical Society, they will be having a bus trip to the Japanese American National Museum in Little Tokyo on Saturday, June 15th. And the purpose for this trip is to visit Janum and for the Idecho stamping project. Similar to what we did last summer. So if you're interested, there's still seats on the bus for that activity, and the bus will be leaving here from the temple that day. And if you have any questions, you can see Kay is here today, or Luann, or myself. Okay, thank you.
Speaking of the Japanese Cultural Bazaar, our temple secretary designed some postcards for the event. It's going to be on June the 2nd, starting from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. So I have a box of them up here. I will place them down in hospitality. So if you could pass them out to your friends or post them on like I think Starbucks has these little community walls. Maybe you could put them up there, or at other community walls at your local rec center or something. So if you get a chance, grab some postcards. We have over about 1,000 of them, so grab as many as you need. All right, now we will have our Dharma school come up here to head on off to their class. Okay, we will continue the adult portion of our service. We will start off with the Vandana T. Sarana, which is on page 96 in your service book. Please, I know it says leader and Sangha. Please follow along or speak both parts.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. Homage to him, the exalted one, the enlightened one, the supremely awakened one. Buddham saranam gacchami, Dhammam saranam gacchami, Sangham saranam gacchami. I go to the Buddha for guidance. I go to the Dharma for guidance. I go to the Sangha for guidance. Namo Butsu. Namo Ho. Namo So. Gasho Namanda 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 Namanda.
All right, thank you. We will now have the adult Dharma message, again by Reverend Hokai Smitty Smith. I know it sounds formal, but she's earned the title, so.
Thank you, Grand Poobah Ken. I didn't know what title you have, so I thought I'd give you a fancy one. Please join me in Gasho. Amida's compassion and wisdom embrace all beings equally. Therefore, spiritual community is a fellowship of ondobo ondogyo, fellow companions and travelers, equal participants in the Nembutsu teaching. Namo Amida Butsu, Namandab, 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 Namandab. So good morning again. With all my little Dharma buds off to Dharma school, it's just us slightly older temple members left here. And as we gather here today, we constitute a Sangha. The Sanskrit word Sangha is often translated as an association or assembly, company, or community. And it originally referred to the monastic community of ordained Buddhist monks and later included the Buddhist nuns. And while Theravada Buddhism often applies this narrower definition of monks and nuns to the term of Sangha, a more modern definition of Sangha, and that which is most often used in Mahayana traditions, is simply the Buddhist spiritual community. And this broader definition of Sangha refers to all of the Buddha's followers, whether they're ordained monks, nuns, priests, elephants, dogs, or lay people. So we're the Sangha, or spiritual community, of the Buddhist temple of San Diego. And personally, I prefer that all-encompassing definition of Sangha, which embraces all seekers of the Dharma, simply because it is more inclusive and more fitting of our society today. I'm sure there's plenty of Buddhist scholars out there who would say I'm kind of diluting the purity of the three treasures with that perspective, but I'm okay with that. I prefer to think of us as a Sangha, as ondobo ondogyo, fellow travelers on this Nembutsu path. And in Jodo Shinshu Buddhism, we place a greater deal of emphasis on the Sangha, or the group. We emphasize the Sangha over the individual. In Shin Buddhism, we emphasize that sharing, the community, the interdependence, and others over self. Some other schools of Buddhism, and I'm not putting them down, I'm just pointing this out, that they emphasize the individual and individual practice, considering the path to enlightenment as an individual journey. And those schools might be said to teach that one must sort of polish the stone that's the self, making it as a mirror so they can see the true self, which in turn enables you to see true reality. And sometimes that emphasis of self can be confusing or contradictory, especially in trying to understand the Buddhist notion of no self. So Buddhism is often misconstrued as this solitary discipline in which other people might see are seen as more of a hindrance than a help to one's practice. And the Western notion of a monk sitting in meditation in a solitary mountain retreat kind of comes to mind. It's that trope that is often used. But in Shin Buddhism, we emphasize the Sangha as an essential part of our practice. To paraphrase Kenji Sensei, I was listening, Sensei. We encounter the Dharma in the kitchen as much as in the hondo. And as Shin Buddhists, we become aware of our interdependence and our connections that we share with others. We don't engage in a solitary practice of Buddhism. We engage as a whole community. And we chant as a community, we listen to the Dharma as a community, we dance each Bonodori as a community, we make teriyaki chicken and chow mein as a community. We're just a community of Buddhists. We're a Sangha. So how important and relevant is the Sangha, this community, to us today? After all, many sutras have been translated into English, so, the study of scriptures is possible to just about any of us. And there are innumerable books that have been written by wonderful teachers about almost any and all schools or traditions of Buddhism, and on just about any aspect of the Buddhist teachings. You want to meditate? There's an app for that. You want to chant? There's a YouTube video available. The internet has a myriad of sites dedicated to Buddhism, from wiki pages to scholarly writing, from personal blogs to the web pages of temples and monasteries all around the world. And with all of these technological advancements over the past 2.5 millennia, what importance could this 2,600-year-old low-tech institution of the Sangha possibly provide? Simply put, the Sangha provides us support. Each member of the Sangha supports each other. Today's Sangha welcomes each of us exactly as we are and with all that we bring. All of our baggage, our karma, our experience, sometimes our wisdom and our delusions too. And as members of the Sangha, we embrace the others as well as their neuroses, their karma, their experience, their occasional wisdom, and their delusions. And the Sangha shares in our happiness and our hardships. The Sangha calls us out when we get too full of ourselves. And we need the Sangha to keep us on the path, just as the Sangha needs us to keep them on the path as well. Ondobo and Ondogyo, fellow travelers and fellow followers. That which we find difficult to do alone, we might find easier with the strength of numbers behind us. I find that Buddhism is better when we approach it as a team sport instead of an individual endeavor. It's like being on a whitewater rafting trip. If we try to paddle through the rapids by ourselves, we're going to end up exhausted and will likely get flipped out of the raft before we make it through the worst parts. But if we're on that whitewater rafting trip with our Sangha, we don't have to do all the paddling on our own. And someone with wisdom and experience will likely steer us around some of the worst rapids, not to mention the rocks in the water, ensuring that all of us get through those difficult spots without being flipped out of the raft. And if life does happen to flip us out of the raft, the Sangha is there to help us get back into the raft, which is something that's also very difficult to do just on our own. So Ondobo, Ondogyo, fellow rafters, fellow paddlers. Just to keep with this boating and paddling theme for a bit longer, I recently watched the 2023 film, The Boys in the Boat. Anybody seen that yet? Just a couple people, I guess. Anyways, it was directed by George Clooney, and it's based on the book by Daniel James Brown. And The Boys in the Boat is a biographical sports drama that chronicles the University of Washington rowing team and their quest to compete in the 1936 Summer Olympics in Berlin. And the film focuses on the members of UW's junior varsity boat, which is crewed by 8 novice rowers. And there's a scene in which the young men are enduring these grueling practices as they learn to row. And at one point, one of the rowers claims that he could do it better without the others, that they're holding him back. And to make the point that rowing in an 8, or a shell designed to be rowed by 8 athletes, is the ultimate in team sports, the coach tells the other 7 men to jump out of the boat and swim to shore. Then the coach tells the lone rower to row this 67-foot-long, nearly 300-pound wooden racing shell with 8 oars attached back to the dock by himself. And once arrogant and ignorant novice rower struggles to even reach 2 of the 8 oars, let alone make the boat move on its own. And it was a harsh lesson on the importance of the entire crew over that individual rower. The Sangha can row the boat and keep it on course, but the individual has really no hope of doing this on their own. The Sangha is part of this ultimate team sport that's life. And maybe I'm drawn to these analogies because I did row crew for 4 years while in college, and I spent some time rafting and canoeing and doing things like that in my younger days. But it kind of makes sense to me that doing this together, being here together on a Sunday morning is really important. When we take refuge in the 3 treasures, we take shelter in or put our trust in the Buddha and the Dharma and the Sangha. And by taking refuge in the Sangha, we become part of that greater community of Buddhists. And by taking refuge in the Sangha, we too become part of the refuge for others. That's something we can't gain by sitting at home on a cushion, by meditating alone along with the Insight Timer or Headspace apps, or by surrounding ourselves with books on Buddhism, or surfing the multitude of Buddhist websites while we're sipping a latte at Starbucks. The Sangha is an equal part of the three treasures for this important reason. Without it, the other two treasures really lose their meaning. The Sangha also provides something intangible yet very powerful. The Sangha is the glue that keeps everything together. And from within the Sangha, we might be fortunate enough to find a good Dharma friend, what might be known as a Zenshishiki. And a Zenshishiki is a good companion. A Zenshishiki is someone who helps to keep us on the path, someone who helps us to see ourselves and the world more clearly. This good friend may be also called a good Dharma teacher, but they don't have to have a formal title like a teacher or Grand Poobah. A Zenshishiki gives us the guidance and advice or insight that we need at the right time. A good Dharma friend listens when we need to be heard and sympathizes when we need understanding and shakes us up when we need to be set on the path again. Sometimes a Zenshishiki is subtle, and sometimes they smack us on the head. Sometimes the good Dharma friend encourages us when we're low, and sometimes they take us down a peg when our ego gets overinflated. Sometimes what that friend says hits us like a ton of bricks immediately. And sometimes it takes us years to figure out what our Zenshishiki was subtly trying to teach us. I've been fortunate to have many good Dharma friends, and many are surrounding me here today. Others have guided me many years ago when I was brand new to Buddhism, and several have studied with me throughout the years. I'm fortunate to meet new friends in the Dharma all the time and welcome them as fellow travelers, kindred followers, and wise teachers. Some of my good Dharma friends and I stay up late talking into the night, solving the world's and each other's problems. And sometimes we start texting storms, and before I know it, there are literally hundreds of texts and replies on my phone. And we share our joys and sorrows, our triumphs and our setbacks. And sometimes my good Dharma friends hit me with a word or a look or a text message or even just a picture they send that reminds me that I'm not yet a Buddha, I'm only a Bonbu. That I'm still an ordinary Buddhist, and a kind of flailing, self-centered one at that. I'm imperfect. But my life is much richer because of these Zenshishiki. The Sangha is much richer because of these good Dharma friends. And the story in the talk for the younger people was about how our lives are enriched and happier because of friendships. And whether you have 5 or 500 good Dharma friends, I hope that you each have these friendships in your lives. We all need good friends in our lives. I also hope that you might be a good Dharma friend to others around you, whether they're Buddhists or not. To paraphrase the Buddha, having good friends isn't just part of the path, good Dharma friends are the whole path. And I don't just mean the number of friends or followers that you have on Facebook or Twitter or TikTok or Snapchat. Is that still around? Or Instagram. We need real friends, those true friends, the good Dharma friends, or as my millennial and Zoomer friends put it, DBFLs, Dharma buddies for life. So please join me again in Gasho. Amida's compassion and wisdom embrace all beings equally. Therefore, spiritual community is a fellowship of Ondobo Ondogyo, fellow companions and travelers, equal participants in the Nembutsu teaching. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namandab, Namandab, Namandab.
Thank you, Sensei, for that wonderful Dharma talk. During the summertime, my daughter's goes to Emerald Bay. She's what they call a ranger over at a scout camp. So she guides she guides troops throughout the weekend, the week that scouts are there. On one of the days, they do this thing called war canoes. Sensei Smitty's story kind of reminded me of that. What scouts do is they go from Emerald Bay over to Parker's Cove around Catalina Island, and so they paddle about 2 miles, 2.5 miles over. And these canoes are big. They're like they hold 8 passengers, and so they bring over troops. So all the troops, each of the troops are supposed to get into each of these canoes, and they paddle over there. Now, a lot of scouts have never canoed before, and they're canoeing out there. They all have life preservers on, and some of the adults haven't canoed either. And so Cassidy has to maneuver this big canoe over to Parker's Beach, and then there's another caveat. They have to avoid this big rock outside into this little cove, and they have to avoid a smaller rock on another side of it. So not only do they have to come around and they have to paddle through, but they also have to avoid these obstacles in the water. And so on one of these trips, Cassidy is moving around, and they're about to hit Parker's Beach. And there are always scouts that don't know how to paddle, and they're not paddling very well. But then there's some adults, again, that have never done this, and one of them starts screaming like, "Oh, we're going to crash, we're going to crash." But Cassidy was able to steer them in the right direction, get this canoe, this big canoe onto the beach. And Sensei Smitty's message reminded me of that, of how the rest of the crew was able to support the scouts that weren't able to paddle, and the adult that was all of a sudden panicking. So, yeah, thank you for that message, and sorry to extend today's service, but thought I'd share that with you. All right, we will now have our we will now have the Gatha Ondoksan 2 on page 128. Please rise. Gasho, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu. Okay, please be seated. We will now have closing meditation, music meditation. Just practice good. Do good for others without thinking of making yourself known so that you may gain rewards. Really bring benefit to others, gaining nothing for yourself. This is the primary requisite for breaking free of attachment to self.
Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu.
Namo Amida Butsu.
Namo Amida Butsu.
Namanda.
All right. I'd like to thank Reverend Hokai Smitty Smith for officiating today's service, Robert Yamamoto for playing his wonderful guitar for today's service, our MA Arturo Rubio for ringing the conch shell today, and Brevin Honda and Bill Teague for providing the live stream. Also, today is the 5th of May, which is also Cinco de Mayo. So if you guys are going to be doing anything, going to any parades or anything, I hope you guys stay dry, and I hope you enjoy the day. So thank you for joining us for today's service, and please, you're welcome to do Oshoko afterwards and shake hands with Reverend Smitty, and maybe catch up with the Akahoshis. Thank you. I forgot to mention that we do have hospitality downstairs in the temple kitchen. So please join us for some snacks and some goodies.
stand